Is it gonna? No, 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 no. It didn't stick. Sorry, Barry. I was gonna do googly eye Barry for the video, but yeah, that didn't work out too well. Hey everybody, how you doing? Tekking here, and welcome back to The List. Many people have questioned, is the list over? The list will never truly be over, but there's 2 videos left in the list until it's over. So this one is gonna be a video on Trebol's Devil Fruit. Yeah, to be honest with you, this is the one that was kind of the most phoned in on the list. I included Pika's Stone fruit, his assimilation fruit, and I already did Diamante's flag fruit in another video, so I'm like, alright, I did Diamante, I did Pika, might as well throw Treble's Sticky or Beta no Mi in here just to kind of round out the commanders on Doflamingo's crew, and I did Doflamingo's Ito as well, so might as well include Trebol, right? Okay, so Trebol, he probably is a contender for one of the most disgusting fruits in this entire story, right up next to the devil fruit that Oda talked about in the SBS that literally is like the disgusting fruit. It was like a comedy fruit that he created in an SBS. It just makes the user like disgusting. So, you know, not quite that bad, but it's getting pretty close to it with this. So we have Trebol's sticky fruit. It allows him to just generate an ungodly amount of oozy mucus? Goo? What would you prefer me call it? Mucus or goo? I gotta use one or the other, alright? I guess I'll call it the goo. So, Trebol creates the goo from his body, and it's not a Logia. This is one of the fruits that kind of like led us to believe that it was a Logia at first. There was a scene where Luffy charges up some armament hockey in his fist, and then boom! Goes to punch Trebol, and a hole gets opened up, but like Luffy literally just punches a hole through his body, and it looks right through it, and he's like, oh man, did that not work? Oh, it's all over my hand. Why? Oh god, why did I do that? But why didn't that hurt you? Yeah, Trebol is not a Logia. No, he is a Paramecia, but using his ability, he can take his normal body, which as we see it by the end of the story arc, at the end of Dressrosa, Trebol's actual body is very, like, emaciated and kind of, like, disproportional. Like, his body itself is very tiny compared to his head. His head is huge compared to the rest of his body, and we can assume the reason his body is, like, so emaciated is because he spent most of his life, he had his devil fruit for a very long time. When Doflamingo first meets Trebol, I think Trebol was 18 years old with his first meeting with him and Diamante and Pika and everybody. Trebol already had his sticky fruit, and he was already creating this image of himself, this really large, imposing visage. You know, he had this, like, gooey kind of cloak on him. His beard was all gooey and stuff. His hair's gooey. He's carrying the staff. He's just dripping goo and mucus everywhere, right? So he looked like that at age 18, and he's, like, well into his 40s by the time the Straw Hats finally fight against the Doflamingo crew, right? So, using that fruit, though, he can create the mucus, and he can make it kind of like, it's sort of like Hisoka's Texture Surprise a little bit, where he can control, like, the color of it, and also, I guess, the texture, so he can make it look like he has an actual body, like actual flesh colored, when in reality, his real body is really tiny, and it's inside of it with just his head poking out. And it's, I think those, like, decades of not using his actual arms or legs cause them to atrophy, kind of like if you're in, like, a coma, or like you're in a hospital bed and you're not moving your body, eventually your limbs are gonna kind of atrophy, kind of like that. And at the end of the arc, when Law did Stirban, did the Death Blade, just like sliced freaking Trebol, right, like dug his blade straight into the goo, hit his body, and just sliced him straight up. All the goo begins to, you know, all the mucus begins to dissolve because he's about to lose consciousness. He's also losing a lot of blood here. Although you'd figure, it might just be because he was so injured, he was like really in pain, he didn't really have time to do it. But you'd think that using his ability, he can use the mucus to kind of like patch up any injury. So if he gets sliced or something, like even if it's a serious injury like the Stirban blade did, he could just use his goo to like patch himself back up at the end of it, but he didn't do that. So the goo all dissolves, and he could barely even stand up. Like, he's using his staff as kind of like a cane. He's like, Dofi, they cut me! And so he uses like one last act of defiance. He tries to like light his mucus on fire because it's also a flammable material. I went out and bought a lot of, there's a lot of slime and goo products on the market as it turns out. Remember Nickelodeon slime? Yeah, I had a little bit of a nostalgia fest when I saw that today in the store. I'm like, Nickelodeon's still making the slime. That's cool. This is mint chocolate chip scented slime, and this is kiwi cube scented slime. And Yeah, it's also kind of reminds me of, remember the first Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie with Ivan Ooze? It kind of reminds me of that too. Yeah, that smells like plastic and kiwi right there. Yeah, I remember back in the 90s, Nickelodeon was all over the place with the slime. You know, the slime was like the thing. That was like kind of like a gross out factor of the 90s. I don't know why that was a thing, but that was totally a thing, right? I remember a couple years back, there was this big thing where there was a recipe circulating online where you can take like glue, like Elmer's glue, and you can mix it with some stuff and you can make slime that way. And so there was a bunch of stuff I saw at the store today, like slime, you know, creator stations and slime laboratories. And I remember when I used to work at Dollar Tree, there was a period there where like parents would come in and like teachers and stuff, and they would just buy out our whole supply of glue to make slime for like their kids or the classes or whatever. We just had no glue for like 2 months, but whatever. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this fruit because listen, I'm if I get isekai'd into the One Piece world, right, and I'm there and I'm working alongside the Straw Hats, like let's say I end up getting lucky and I join Luffy's crew and I'm like, yeah, Luffy, you're gonna become king of the pirates. I'm hanging out with the Straw Hats, you know, Robin's there, Frankie's there, busting out the super poses with Frankie. I'm like, this is great. I get to travel with the Straw Hats. Maybe I'll learn hockey. Maybe I'll get a devil fruit at some point. The adventure is over once I have to fight Trebol, because I'll tell you how this is gonna go. I was like, all right, Tekking, you go fight Trebol. We'll go take care of the rest of the Doflamingo family. I'm like, okay. All Trebol doesn't even have to do the thing where he like covers you in goo and then like lights it on fire and it like explodes like it's combustible material. He doesn't even need to do that. All Trebol needs to do is and just spit a giant glob of mucus, and if it hits me, I'm just gonna walk out of that like, oh no, oh, it's everywhere. Oh my god, I need like 17 showers. All right, I'm done. I don't care about any of this anymore. I don't want to be a pirate. Luffy, good luck to you. I'm sure you can become king of the pirates without me. I'm done. I'm done, everybody. Bye. And I just leave, because that just sounds disgusting to me, okay? Oh, God. Like, and you know what? It actually does have some interesting applications, but the drawback is you're constantly, like, covered in slime, right? I guess maybe you would get used to it, maybe you wouldn't, I don't know, but there are some applications here. Like, for instance, let's say you are somebody that is paralyzed. Let's say you can't walk. Or part of your body is paralyzed. Using this fruit, you could conceivably overcome that. So let's say if Trebol, like for example, we see Trebol, like his, you know, body's all atrophied, but let's say, you know, he couldn't move his legs. If you ate the Beta Beta no Mi or the sticky fruit, you could just create mucus, and Trebol doesn't really walk with his feet. He walks like a freaking slug or something, just like just around the area. Like that's how he moves, right? So it kind of protects your body in that sense. So even if you can't move your arms and your legs, you can still move around using the mucus. You can control the mucus with your mind, just like a lot of other devil fruits can control their kind of substance and stuff like that. So he can still move his arms, his mucus arms and his mucus body, and he can kind of move it around and shape it. There was that one moment where Usopp used the Plantis Shuriken to slice Trebol, and he succeeded. These two plant shurikens sliced right through Trebol's body, and he was able to survive that. He was able to patch himself back together, and we find out later he's not a Logia, so a lot of people were confused by that. Turns out that Trebol probably, and this hasn't been confirmed by Oda, but what something he probably could do was scrunch up his entire body. So like his whole body's like this, but his actual body only takes up like this much. So he could just like scrunch up using observation hockey, detecting there was an attack coming. So, you know, all of his body is scrunched up here, and then just shing shing, the rest of his body gets sliced, but it doesn't matter. Although there was that other moment when Law used Radio Knife, and I'm guessing he could have done the same thing. Remember that scene where Law and Luffy show up to fight against Doflamingo and Trebol, and they pretend like they're not getting along at first? That was part of their plan, as like one of the few times that Luffy actually listened to Law's plan. And so Luffy uses Red Hawk and then Room at the last minute, like, shambles! And Doflamingo's like, hey, wait, what? Boom! Red Hawk right in Dofi's stomach, and then cut over to the throne where Doflamingo was sitting, and Trebol's right behind the throne, and then boom, there's Law there, just kind of like looking up at Trebol, and Law has this like shit-eating grin on his face. He's just like, didn't expect that, did you? Huh? didn't expect this either. And he's like, radio knife, and then just slices up Trebol a bunch of times, separates his whole body to pieces. However, he was able to, paste himself back up. So I'm guessing he did the same trick there, but that was also very confusing. If he's not a Logia, he has an actual body in there. I guess he could just, like, move it around and stuff, right? Radio knife was actually a very effective ability there because it basically electrically charges the target with, like, magnetism. So even if Trebol had the ability to paste himself back together because the magnetic forces were, like, not polar opposites, they'd be the same polarity. So basically Law just, like, charges him with, like, a north polarity. So even if his body is separated, even if he can try to paste himself back together normally, the magnetic force would, like, repel him. So he couldn't do that for a little while, but he eventually managed to paste himself back together. He's got a few disgusting techniques with his ability. He's got his, like, sticky chain, where he fires off basically just a strand of just sticky goo, and it goes off and it grabs something. In the case when he used it in the underground port, he grabbed onto a ship, I believe. So he basically just sends out a really big sticky, thread, and it travels like Spider-Man's web sling or whatever, and then it attaches to an object, a large heavy object preferably, and then Trebol's like, eh! And then he pulls it right back in, and it just like slams into things on the way back. Trebol constantly has a running nose. Might be probably because of the effect of the fruit, so that's something else. So you ever have that? You ever have a cold or something? Like a really bad cold where you're walking around and it's just like your nose is constantly stuffed up? Yeah, when you eat this fruit, I guess you just have that sensation. No matter how much you try to blow your nose, there's always mucus. I'm like, oh God, right? Right? Am I not the only one grossed out by this? Okay. So anyway, yeah, Trebol constantly has a running nose, but he can use the running nose as an attack. So the mucus that's constantly coming out, he tried to use it to, like, he can manipulate the mucus. So he can, like, grab a sword and, like, throw it away with the mucus, and, like, or he can, like, fire it like a pistol at the enemy. Law was able to block the attack before he did that, but he could do that, so that's in and of itself terrifying. Because it's a sticky slime substance, the primary use that you could think that he could do here is to trap an opponent. So he can literally just, like I said earlier, he can like and then just spit it out, and then just globs of this goo just attach to you and then just stick you to whatever surface you're there. Law got trapped by it for a little while there when he was on the ground, and if it wasn't for him already setting up a room and everything and using the Sterben, he probably would have been screwed. The substance is flammable, and Trebol's cane staff thing is basically like a lighter, so he can open up the top of it and just flick on the lighter, and then he can shoot fire at whatever globs are there and they ignite. This is also extremely dangerous though for Trebol, because if Trebol's not careful, he is literally coated in this goo that is flammable, and he can't choose like, alright, I'm gonna make the goo attached to me non-flammable and the goo attached to you is flammable. He can't choose that. So having a lighter on you, I mean, it's an effective ability, but you gotta be really careful, because if you spark that lighter up and one little spark just lands on you, your whole body like explodes. Alright, so very dangerous there, but Trebol seems to manage for the most part to get away with it. It wasn't until right when Sterben sliced him lengthwise and he was bleeding out, and he's like, if I'm taking you down, I'm taking me and you with me. I don't know what I'm saying. Click. And then he just, like, ignites everything in big explosion. And that's how Trebol is defeated. He doesn't die. He's taken away with the rest of the Doflamingo family at the end of the arc. So Doflamingo's sent to level 6, and we don't know what happened to Pika and Trebol and Diamante. We can assume they also got sent to Impel Down. I guess they would all be like in level 5 area. That would actually be kind of interesting to see how Trebol's ability would work in really cold environments. He couldn't use it in a really hot environment, because if he was like in Punk Hazard or something, the flames would probably ignite him. And if he was in a really cold environment, actually that might be his primary weakness, because the slime or whatever would congeal. I guess I should put some of this slime in the freezer and get like a general idea of where that would go. But at the end of the day, it's kind of the same basic premise like Magellan's Doku Doku no Mi, where Magellan could create poison. He could just create seemingly endless supplies of poison goo from his body. Trebol just creates normal gluey kind of goo, right? So the question is, like, how much could he literally make? Like, if he really wanted to at any given moment, could he just like turn his entire body into like a kaiju form, right? Like a giant sticky Godzilla, just create giant sticky gooey Godzilla with like mucus running down his nose and just using gooey atomic breath everywhere. Like, could he really create a creature that big? It seems like if given enough time and mucus, then yes, he could. He didn't get a chance to, but that might be his final attack. Also, just going along with the runny nose thing, he always talks. I don't know if that's because of the fruit, but the way Trebol talks is kind of annoying. I always thought it was kind of annoying. He's like, Dofi, no! That might also be because of a side effect, though. He's always congested. He's always like, oh, Dofi, I can't speak very well. I got a runny nose. You know, it might be something like that. Yeah. Doflamingo, I mean, like, regarded Trebol highly, because Trebol was one of his most closest, like, confidants for, like, decades and everything like that. But you know, every once in a while, Doflamingo was just like, yes, Trebol, my loyal companion for all these years. You know, the person that gave me the Ito Ito no Mi and the gun that I used to slay my father. You are truly my most trusted companion. Now just stay more than 6 feet. Just like 60 feet away from me at all times. Doflamingo's got the really fly suits and he's like really fancy and all that stuff. He knows how to dress to impress. You don't need any goop getting on that, right? Any goop or slime just running on his nice new tailored pinstripe suit or whatever, right? So, yeah, Trebol, just stay back. I mean, I trust you. Your fruit is very useful. You know, you can trap opponents and you can, you know, blow up large structures and everything, and you can like do all that stuff with your snot, but just stay away from us, please. You know, so yeah, it would be kind of disgusting. Oh god. I used to work at a dollar store, right? And there's a lot of times working at a dollar store where, like, I can't count how many times I've had, like, sodas and stuff, like, spilled on me. You know, my get all sticky afterwards. But there's, like, the worst possible time. I'll tell you this story, all right? I was working at the store once, and we had a freezer section, right? And in the freezer section, we had these little packets of, like, salmon, like, frozen fish, okay? I've never tried them. They would probably be okay, but it was a dollar store, so I never tried them there. But one day, I'm stocking the beans, like I'm in the bean aisle, the canned bean aisle, and I'm putting the cans up, and I smell rotten fish. Apparently what happened is one of the customers had taken this frozen fish packet out of the freezer, put it in their cart, and then shopped, and then decided, I don't really want this salmon, and then just instead of taking it back to the freezer or giving it to an employee, they just took this and just shoved it in the back of the canned beans aisle, you know? So, like, this is probably like day or two before this. So, I'm stocking the beans, and I smell this rotten fish, and I'm like, oh god, what is that? And I move the beans, and I see this packet way in the back of it, and I'm like, oh god. So I reach back, I grab it, I pull it out, and it's leaking. So, like 2-3 day old spoiled rotten fish goo leaks out of this Ziploc all over my hand, and I wanted to just like, I wanted to drop it, but that would have gotten rotten, gooey fish everywhere. So I'm like, oh god, oh god, oh god, and I'm like running to the bathroom like, oh no, oh god, and I was like in the bathroom for like 5 minutes like washing my hands. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Trebol's Devil Fruit is very, very useful. It can trap opponents, it can cause damage, you can protect you, it can probably protect other people if it's like, oh no, Mr. Trebol, a giant attack is coming, let me hide in the goo. That would be rough. It'd be like, okay, let's say there's like a character about like with a gun or like a Gatling gun or something about to rain down bullets on you, right? And your choices are either to like try to dodge the bullets, hopefully maybe you'll manage to not die, or jump in Trebol. Jump in Trebol's goo cloak to make sure because the bullets will hit him and they'll stop in the sticky goo. Be like, alright, I guess it's, oh god, you know, like, no. But it would protect Trebol. Trebol can, like, retreat inside of that, like, his goo dome at all times, and so, like, bullets and stuff would just get stuck and they wouldn't be able to hurt him. I think the only reason Law was able to do it is because Law got lucky, because Doflamingo and Trebol did not see that attack coming. It really came, because it's literally, like, Law lost an arm at that point. Law has a severed arm that he uses his shambles with to stab Trebol and, like, spin it like a freaking buzzsaw. No one could have saw that coming, right? And so Trebol's usually maybe really good at dodging attacks like that, but in that one instance, he didn't think that a severed arm was gonna ching, and then it actually struck his real body, like right in his stomach, and he's like, oh no, that's not good. No, it sure isn't. Stabbin'! Ah, no! And then all the goo disappears and he's there and he's just like barely able to stand up and he's like, oh man. So, yeah, and he's in his boxers too. He doesn't even wear clothes underneath all that except for boxers. Thank God. Thank God he decided to wear the boxers. Don't know how long those things have been, not washed or whatever, but God, at least he decided to wear something. Ah, this is a disgusting video, I know, right? Okay, well, anyway, yeah, that's Trebol's video. Comment below on what did you think an awakened form of this would be? Everything becomes goo. It really is like Nickelodeon, like slime time at that point. Like it's just like a river of slime, basically, just everywhere. Oh, or he could turn buildings and stuff into goo. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, let's not do that, you know? Pika wants to come back, Pika can come back. I think there's options for Pika. Pika has a really powerful devil fruit, and plus the way he talks is very funny. Roronorizoro, I will have my rematch and my revenge. Ha ha ha. You know, that's funny. It's funny. Even if you want to bring back Diamante. Like, Diamante was a dick because what he did to Scarlet and everybody, and Kiros had that cool finish with him and everything, but you know, Diamante's fruit was at least interesting. It was with the flag stuff and like everything, the glaive and stuff he made with the flags and the spiked little confetti that came down. That was a cool ability, right? Even if you want to bring back Virgo, fine, bring back Virgo. I think Trebol is good, though. I don't think we need to see any more Trebol in this story. I don't think we need to see an arc where Blackbeard is like, all right, say ha-ha, mateys. We're gonna go and get our hands on the sticky fruit. All like everybody else like Shiryu's like, why? Why do you want that? I'm like, yeah, you're right, say haha. I don't know what I was thinking. Let's just go after the stone assimilation fruit. Yeah, that's better. Let's go after that one. Okay, all right. Well, anyway, that was Trebol's sticky fruit video. I hope you are all thoroughly entertained by that. I do have one more thing here. This is Play-Doh based product. This is Slime Super Cloud. So it's like a, oh god, oh why am I, oh. Why though? Why did they make this product? Why? How is this fun? Oh, how do I get it off?